Hey guys, Merry Christmas. I'm sure you're already tired of all the Christmas music and jolly that everyone has around them. So we are going to continue that with our Christmas-themed episode. So get prepared for that. Let me first just say welcome to Cult Film Review, the podcast where we discuss the films you love, but no one else gets, and we see if they still hold up. Tonight is a silent night. Some may even say it's a deadly night. So grab your axes, put on your Santa suit, because we're talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night. So let's just start the show. Ho, ho, ho! I guess.
Your Hollywood system stole our sex and co-opted our violence, so there's nothing left for our kinds of movies.
I did not hit her. It's not true.
Klopex? Klopex.
Klopex.
Up yours, baby.
Me and Bubba, my little brother, listen to you every night.
Where in the hell are we?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
All right, guys, so before we get into the show, let's just get the business part out of the way, which is please subscribe to our podcast. Also, leave us a review. It helps us get ranked. If you listen to the show and you enjoy it, you're probably listening to it on your way to work or at work or at the gym, whatever it is. Just do us a solid and hook us up with a review. It really helps us out. It takes a couple of minutes, and we look cooler because of it. I don't know. It just helps us out on iTunes.
It hasn't helped me look cooler at all.
I tell people all the time.
Not
I say
one person has
I
ever
have
said
27 reviews on iTunes. I have thousands of listeners.
You have or we have?
I haven't introduced you guys yet, so I have. I have thousands of listeners, but like only 27 reviews. So please help us out.
This is my show until I say your name.
Help us get ranked. And we'd really appreciate that. If you're wondering what all those other voices are, that would be Kyle Smith.
Hey, how's it going?
Chris Willenbrecht.
Hey, what's up?
And Michael Salustio.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm your host, Cody Everett. So tonight, we are talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night. It is directed by Charles E. Sellier, Jr. Jr. It came out in 1984, had a budget of about $1 million. I think that's with advertising. Made about $2 million. Was filmed in the U.S. There is a rated R and an unrated version, which 2 of us saw the rated R version and 2 of us saw the unrated version.
Oh, wait, are we going to talk about the differences between the two? Do we know him?
I think we do know some of them.
We know some of them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll figure it out.
And it has a whopping 31% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's right in that area.
All right, guys, if you don't know what this movie is about, after witnessing his parents' murder, tormented Billy goes on a murderous rampage dressed as Santa due to his stay in an orphanage where he's abused by a mother superior.
There you go.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell right there. If you didn't know what this movie's about. This is Kyle's pick. Let me just say that.
It certainly is.
Kyle, why'd you pick this movie?
I mean, we're getting into December. I wanted to do a Christmas movie. I wanted to do I obviously want to do like a horror movie, and this movie and its sequels all have a really strong cult following because they're ridiculous or controversial in some way or another, and I thought this would be a great one to kick off the holiday season.
There you go. Has anyone not seen this movie before?
I had not seen this movie before.
Either have I. This is my first watch through. So you two, Kyle and Chris, you both have seen this movie?
Yeah.
Yep, I saw it. Actually, I was. This definitely goes back to the video store days when I used to, walk up to it and just browse the horror aisles. This was always a box. The artwork on this thing always caught my eye.
Mm-hmm.
The chimney with the Santa arm coming out, holding the axe. And the one thing that really drew me into this was Blockbuster used to put these little stickers on the boxes that said for mature audiences only. And that made me want to see it even more because I was like, man, this movie must be crazy. This must be insane if they're putting this on there.
I remember that as well. I actually remember being a little kid, and being like, we had Video Power Store by our house, and I just remember all four or five of these films. It was probably 4 of them at the time, just in a line and just staring at all of them. And it was this box art always caught me in the second one with the gun reflected in the ornament.
Yeah,
I used to always just stare at these I wonder what this movie's about. It looks so crazy, like a Christmas killer. That's awesome.
So when did you first see it?
Probably when I was around 15.
Okay.
1961, Brother Ryan was working at the video store.
I want to say like 13 because that's when I was able to like go up and just rent whatever I wanted. So I'm sure this was on the top of the
Oh,
list.
must be cool.
Yeah, your parents
Cool,
had
Chris.
like he can rent whatever he wants on the
Hey,
account.
Chris,
At that point,
did
yeah.
you want any porn to go along with that?
Yeah, did you want to go back in the special room, son?
No, I did rent Jerry Springer's Too Hot for TV though.
Nice.
Ooh,
I own that.
That's a risque one.
I own that one, and
It's
it
probably
is
just for the boobs.
It is just for the boobs.
There's really not even that many boobs in
That
Too
was
Hot.
like it was like the before Girls Gone Wild. That was
Yeah.
like
It's
the
about
Girls
the same
Gone Wild
time.
before.
It's about the same
Oh,
time. I remember those
It wasn't
commercials.
the precursor.
this movie
about
has
the same
more
time.
boobs in it than Too Hot for TV has in it. I'm being serious.
There's quite a bit.
There's quite a bit of boobs in this movie.
Definitely.
Mike, so your first time seeing this movie.
Yes.
What were you expecting anything like what you got?
No, I pretty much almost exactly expected what I was going to get. I had known about the film. I don't want to make it seem like I didn't know that the film existed. I did. I had heard about it. It was one of those films that was like, yeah, again, like I think in the last episode I talked about the films that, yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get to that eventually, then you never do. This was definitely one of them. It didn't surprise me in the way that I guess The Prowler kind of did.
That's more surprising in a disappointing sort of way.
Yeah, like that one I expected more and got way less.
Yeah.
This one I got pretty much exactly what I
Yeah.
expected.
Yeah. whatever thoughts you might have had going into it, for the most part, they paid off.
Yeah, they did.
This was my first time seeing it, and you know what? I was never big into the horror, like
Horror holiday. You almost that's
Yeah.
a great term. You get
Like,
there you go.
I was-
Copyright that.
I was really
Horror
thank you.
day.
A horror day.
Well,
Jesus.
That
it was
sounds
good.
horrible.
It was good until Mike.
But I
chimed
never
in.
like
Fuck
was
that.
never really into the genre because I was just like that just seems kind of stupid.
Like hokey.
Yeah, like
What?
You know
what do you
I mean?
mean, stupid? Did you not see the first episode of fucking Tales from the Crypt, the Killer Santa? That
Yep.
shit's
Yeah.
terrifying
Well, no,
as fuck.
that's when I started thinking differently about that. Though, is when I saw that, I was like, "Holy shit, that is terrifying."
yeah,
you
that
know?
episode still this day fucking creeps me
Yeah.
the fuck out.
But yeah, no.
But what they didn't really
But
do
yeah,
it
no.
justice, honestly. Like they had a good run on a couple of a handful of films, and then bullshit like fucking Santa's Sleigh or whatever you were talking about.
Yeah.
Bill Goldberg, bro.
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
like-
a piece of
I don't
shit.
know,
How
that-
dare
that-
you?
There was a pretty good run in the 80s because you had like that, but it was when they started grabbing like weird April Fool's Day. They made a movie like
Well,
that was
the-
kind of based around that kind of theme, and
I think that's fine. I'm just saying, like a lot of the Christmas stuff that I feel like came out, at least in like the late '90s and
Yeah.
like 2000s, like was just
Jack
about
so,
the time
Frost.
I was going to say Jack Frost came out,
yeah.
Ginger Dead Man.
Like
Yep.
Jack Frost is okay, but it's like this is the golden era. This is the golden era.
Jack Frost
of-
is not one of the not
But
one
wait,
of the good ones.
also I would like to know that like I feel like Jack Frost and all those other films, those are films that are very self-aware that they're being
Yeah.
a parody.
Yes.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like that really
this is a
so
straight
much.
horror.
This is a straight horror
film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in a weird way, I do feel like it's a parody.
No, I think it comes out that way, which would make it an ideal cult film. But I don't necessarily think that was the intention.
Yeah, I think it's a parody in the same way that like Troll 2 is. Troll 2 was like made with the intention of being a legit film. It wasn't self-aware, and this one is the same thing. It's not self-aware. It's just really cheesy and kind of shitty.
No, I don't think it's self-aware at all, but I definitely think it's like a rip-off of early slasher genre set in a Christmas setting.
I mean, fuck, almost every movie that came out in the early 80s was that.
Yeah, but
Like you described about 1,000 films from the 80s.
that's true, but this one is I feel like it's so close to Halloween, like as far as like character and story, like
It is, but it definitely has. I feel like it offers something a little bit extra, which is where Halloween's unique because this kid is pure evil from day one. The kid in our story, Billy, in Silent Deadly Night, he becomes evil because of what has happened to him, situations he's been put into or forced into, witnessing his parents' death, getting beaten by a nun. Like, these are all things that kind of shaped his personality and shaped his life.
which brings me back to how it resurfaced in another Halloween movie. I was watching this and I was like, this is fucking Rob Zombie's Halloween.
That is no. You can't compare the two because Rob Zombie came after. So if anything, Rob Zombie ripped this off to make his
that's
Halloween.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So it went from like Halloween to a ripoff of Halloween with Silent Night, Deadly Night to a ripoff of Silent Night, Deadly Night with another Halloween. Does that make sense?
I guess you can. Yeah, you can definitely go full circle. The thing I did like about this one was, and I've been really vocal about it in a lot of episodes about hating the idea of having a killer's backstory. But in this movie, I feel like it did it justice because the things that he witnessed and the things that happened to him were pretty fucked up, I guess.
Yeah, it goes back to like what I was kind of trying to get to. I feel like in the Prowler episode, the thing that bothered me in that was like, I don't know if there's a word for it, or if there's a term for it. I guess I'll call it the unreasonable justification that a lot of slasher films have. The idea that when somebody goes off and goes on this murdering rampage, there's a justification that they have. Like when Jason kills, it's like, well, you drowned me in a lake, you weren't paying attention, so I'm going to kill the very people, despite the fact that you aren't the exact people that fucking left me unwatched. That
doesn't matter. Your representation.
Your representation of that. In this one, it does a little bit different, but it's on the same level. It's a guy a kid at the time who sees a beloved Christmas figure kill his family, and therefore is kind of forced into the role of that killer. But he still follows that same line. He still has this, and to a very literal extent, where he has to say, you're being naughty every single time he kills them.
Yeah.
He has a rule that's going on in his head. I only kill people that I feel are naughty.
Yes.
And therefore I shall do it.
Because being naughty, like, what is the line? Like, punishment
yeah.
is required if you're naughty. And like, he just takes that to a completely extreme level because of all the other stuff that has happened to him in his life that has basically put him to his breaking point.
Well, now we're just breaking down the movie too much, so let's take
There's
a break.
no such thing as too much, Cody.
Let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
Well, I tell you something. Santa Claus only brings presents to them that's been good all year. To the ones that ain't done nothing naughty, doggy. All the other ones, all the naughty ones, he punishes. What about you, boy?
All right, guys, we are back. We were talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night. Came out in 1984, had a budget of about $1 million. All right, so this is a cool film. Let's just start off with the heavy question right off the bat. Actually, I don't feel like is really heavy for this one. I think it should be a pretty simple answer. Kyle?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Like undeniably so.
I have to agree, but why is it a cult film?
Probably for the stuff that you mentioned earlier where you thought it was kind of like campy. I think it's a little campy, a little tongue-in-cheek. And, I mean, at the time, it's kind of it's kind of a ridiculous concept. Santa Claus going around killing a bunch of people. Like,
Yeah.
that alone is going to get people to, like, spread the word and say, "Oh, you seen this fucking movie?" And it's just going to build on that. And
you think it was like the equivalent of sharks coming out of a tornado?
Probably
at the time. It's like that wild.
This is the Sharknado of '84.
Well, see, I think you're right and wrong, if that makes sense. So
that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that I'm
they're
wrong.
literally
Wait a minute.
contradictory fucking statements. Right and wrong are two totally separate things.
That doesn't make any sense,
bro.
Well, I think
Up is down,
I
left
think-
is right.
Cats and dogs living together.
It's literally
mass hysteria.
not either of those things.
No, I think you're right in the fact that it's got its cult following because it is campy. I don't think it's kind of campy. I think it's full on camp. But I also think that it got a lot of steam when this movie came out from the controversy of being in theaters for it was like a week or 2 weeks,
Yeah,
if
it was
that,
short.
before families came out in droves to
protest.
Yeah, to protest
Yeah.
this movie for being out because it was Santa killing people.
That's
and
like a
kids were
standing
like,
ovation, in my opinion.
yeah.
I agree. No, I definitely
Yeah,
agree.
if I'm a horror film director, I'm like, please, goddamn, picket my movie.
No, you're right though. They basically everybody who was involved backed out of the deal.
Yeah.
And even on the soundtrack side of things, it was just a kind of a bad. It was bad at the time, but it does make for that cool story of this movie was banned.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
that's the thing. Over time, that's gonna get the people who are horror fans who didn't get to see the movie when it was released because it was in theaters for so short.
Yeah.
We're gonna be I got to see this movie because there's something in it that's so terrible that I need to see this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of watch the movie, and do you think it's worth the controversy, Mike?
You know what? I think it is at that time, yeah. But when was the last time, even in modern films, where you got that kind of thing?
What's that?
Like, okay, like there were back at this time, like there were times where, like, have you seen this movie about Santa Claus killing people?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you went there. Like, I feel like it's something that like South Park and like The Simpsons makes fun of now. Like, it's like alien blah blah blahs from blah blah blah, like, or like it's some crazy scenario, like a high concept idea that everyone has to flock to the theaters just to see because it's such a spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, like, that doesn't exist.
Thank you,
Like
internet.
the new Blair Witch, like
It does. It does
flash
exist.
in the pan, gone. Where?
It does exist. It's maybe not at the level where it's like shit getting released in theaters
Right.
and then getting pulled and yanked out of like theaters because of a certain reason. It's more like Serbian film and shit like
No,
that.
I understand.
You know,
Yeah, I
it's-
agree. But I'm just saying, like, to the level, like now the desire to go see those films exists in a video or purely online.
It's
in
definitely
some
more
way.
of a niche market.
Yeah.
Whereas I see your point. Whereas this was mass market. People who aren't into horror films went to see it.
Like, I just
know?
got to see what everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
That
kind of thing. Yeah,
And then they shut it
don't
down.
Have, yeah, you don't have
You
it.
couldn't pay for advertising that good, honestly. Like
No.
on the news, like angry families protesting the new hit horror film Silent Night, Deadly Night about a murderous Santa Claus. Like, and then people are like, I can't believe they would turn Santa Claus into a serial
that's the
killer.
Thing, is like I kind of disagree. I don't think that many people saw it. I think a lot of people just heard Santa kills people and then they got upset about it.
Right. I think
And
you're right.
and- because if they would have saw it, I don't think they'd be that upset because
I don't know.
it's
probably
pretty,
still
dude,
would've.
it's
There's a lot of
pretty
sex.
cheesy.
There's a lot of sex
There's
stuff
a lot of
going
sex.
on.
Plus, I think I'm going to take it a step further and think like, yeah, the Santa Claus killing element is definitely one thing, but like the aspect of it that you're dealing with this kid's childhood and the abuse that he's receiving and the shit he's witnessing is also pretty like, I mean, it's pretty graphic, you know. So that's definitely probably something that fed into that hysteria.
I
Yeah.
agree because I think that's the scariest part of the film.
I agree because to Chris's point, like, who boycotted Serbian film?
I mean, it's just one of those situations where it's
Right.
like what didn't come into the States for a long time
Right.
because of
It was like this weird thing that existed out in this
yeah.
realm, and then people kind of wanted to go see it and they gravitated to it, and then they saw it and they were like, holy shit, this is a fucked up film. But that was its only thing. But you didn't see it. It wasn't something, again, like being in theaters is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's present like in like it's at your front door, it's at your local place, it's at your local Cineplex. It's a place that your kids might sneak into
Yeah.
and go see it. Like,
I think the problem is that all those kids saw that poster and they were like, "Holy shit, I want to see that movie." And the parents, were like, "What is this? This is ridiculous!" Like,
That's the movie I'm paying for
yeah,
now.
that's what they're putting out now, scaring kids about Christmas.
Which really the scariest thing in this film, honestly, is 8-year-old Billy's face.
yeah. yeah. There are some ugly ass kids in this.
Dude, they were for real.
5-year-old Billy wasn't bad. Actually, we thought I recognized him, but I don't think he was in anything else.
He did look familiar. But yeah, 5-year-old Billy was innocent enough. But
You know why? 5-year-old Billy looked like the kid from Chucky.
Oh God, yeah,
He did kinda
Maybe
look
that's
like
why.
shit.
Sure
yeah.
did.
He did. You're right.
8-year-old Billy looked like a horse.
He had a slow growth. He went from a decent looking kid, like, oh, look at this cute little kid, to like, Jesus Christ, that kid's ugly, to like, goddamn, like an American icon of like what you think like a corn-fed, beautiful man
No, he
should
looked
be.
like ripped off sleeves.
He was like, I'm not. You look, he was beautiful. That guy
he was the
yeah.
American dream.
He is.
he could have played Captain America.
He could have.
He could have.
Yeah.
I
No,
agree.
I'm serious. He looks great.
Yeah.
He's definitely working out. Him and Mother Superior.
I thought
in the gym.
Again, I
punishment.
want to say something. I thought that was going to be a theme, that I thought the toy owner was sexually attracted to him.
What?
Right
I
off the
never
bat,
got
when
that.
No.
when the
toy
nun,
shop owner.
yeah, when the nun is like, I have a kid, and I get now that the joke was he thought it was a younger kid or
Yeah,
something like
that
that.
was the joke.
But the way he looks at him, the way he's like, I got this kid, blah, 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 his name is Billy. He wants to work in the shop. And he's like, I don't want to do that. And he's like, no, here he is right over here. And he looks at him, and the camera angles it from his, like, knees slowly past his crotch,
Yep.
all the way up to his face in his
Yep.
beautiful smile.
They're revealing
and then
the
all of
Billy.
a sudden you see the toy hunter and he's just like, oh, never mind.
No, because the point of that was the point of that was
Jokes on him.
I get it, yes.
like he has big ass arms, he can lift crates.
Yeah.
I get
This
it,
ain't
but
no boy. This is
I
a
would like
fucking
to say
grown-ass
that
dude.
a little
Yeah.
bit of a failure on the cinematographer's part to start crotch level.
That was
you
his
know
only
what?
failure.
You know. Maybe
it's
maybe
the thing you do with women.
Maybe they just got like hung up on that thing that had repositioned to get the rest of the pan going.
Maybe.
The stop point, like, oh
Maybe.
shit, gotta fix and adjust now.
Don't start genital level. That's
I know
all
we
I'm
usually
saying.
wait till later for the technical stuff, but there are some pans in here that are terrible. Like
There's a lot of technical stuff that are
Oh,
questionable.
God. It's bad when he's
Yes,
drawing the
you're right.
picture and it starts from the start of the classroom and goes to Billy is like some of the worst cinematography I've ever seen. I'm like, Jesus, this
I don't
want to
get too much into it, but
Yeah.
along with what Kyle said, there are some real technical issues in here that we can get into later.
Do you guys think that this movie also has like a maybe more of a following now because it's kind of like the Troll 2 of Christmas movies?
I do not see it as the Troll 2 of Christmas
Yeah,
movies.
that's-
Dude,
It's
there's
not that bad. It's not that bad.
There's
It's-
some bad shit in it.
There's
I
not that bad.
I feel like the
That-
one with Bill Goldberg would be the troll too.
We'll find out.
Oh god damn
Yeah,
it.
this isn't like, I mean, Troll 2 is like so painfully obvious that it's bad. This is like little flecks of it, but there's some good shit in this movie.
There is.
I mean,
There's a lot of great kills.
Yeah.
Again, the setup for the killer's backstory is solid.
No, I don't disagree with that, but I don't know how great the execution is. Like, I'm gonna give you some of my points. Like, I was busting up laughing like the first opening scenes with this movie when they're driving the car because it's like the same cut of the dad's face looking like glancing lovingly over at the mom, and the mom's doing like the same glance, and it's like just this.
and the really staged like finger across the baby's face, like everything
Yeah.
seems so orchestrated.
And Grandpa was pretty damn cheesy to himself. Like he was pretty cheesy.
I just thought that was kind of, since you're bringing up that scene, the grandpa scene at the beginning when they go to visit him, like the thing that was hard for me to get over at first was the fact that he's like, watch out for Santa. He's going to punish you and it's going to be bad. And then all of a sudden, like something like that actually does happen on the way
Yeah,
home.
it's supremely coincidental.
Yeah, it is. And it's
An unfortunate coincidence, which
Yeah.
led to Billy becoming a murdering
But
psychopath.
I would like to say that I feel like the grandfather's presence actually does point to something else, which is the possibility of insanity running in the family.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
you're
Like
right.
I think that they were trying to get to that point.
Interesting.
They didn't do it very well, I think, but
I
yeah.
like that you said that because I didn't really put that together until now, but that could totally be true.
I don't know if anybody else caught on to this either, but in that scene where the first Santa killer, kills the clerk
Yeah.
that was working at the gas station or whatever, that also made me laugh because they get rid of it in the second cut when it's a close up with the bullet hole in his head. But when he gets shot initially, his tongue's like hanging out of his mouth, like from the side, like like. It's really funny, and you only get like a quick cut of it because I think they realized that, and you get a little bit of it when he's there with his head. He's got a little bit of it hanging out on his lip,
His
but it was
tongue?
like, yeah,
He thought that was the way to die?
Yeah, that was like the way to die.
That was,
Like,
that was his chosen acting style, huh?
I'll tell you I think the most poorly executed scene in this, because it tries to condense a bunch of like horror film tropes into one scene, is when the Santa Claus actually tries to take the parents' car.
Yeah.
It's such a weird. If you're looking at the motivation from the killer, it makes literally no sense. He's stranded on the road. His whole thing is, I got to get away from the cops because surely someone's looking for me after I've committed this crime. Here's this family. Okay, there's a car. I get the car. Okay, I'm going to kill the father. Okay, now I'm going to go over the car. I'm going to grab the mother. Wait, now's a good time for a good molestation. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Wait, never mind. Maybe I shouldn't molest this person. Maybe I should go kill the kid. Look for the kid. I give up on the kid. Let's go back to the car. It makes no fucking sense. It's like they tried to jam a bunch of visuals into one scene
Yeah.
just for the sake of shock value, but it makes no sense.
Mike, here's the thing: he doesn't even take the car,
How does he get away?
right?
Like, where's the baby? Like, that's the thing. That's the question. Like, I don't know how the baby gets back to the orphanage.
He doesn't
Yeah.
take the car. So the baby and Billy are both there with dead parents just sitting there, and then somebody, I assume, comes along and snags them up.
So I'm assuming the cops actually do show up because this guy's a moron.
They probably do. I don't know what happens to this guy, but I agree with you. I mean, I agree with that. That scene just felt unnecessary, or just not planned out because like. He produces the gun, and then the dad throws it in reverse, and then the car gets like left in a ditch or something. And it's like, well, there's no getting that car back now.
Yeah.
You just kind of fucked yourself there, buddy.
Here's
like,
really,
you could have
like,
easily
just
asked for a ride,
sloppy
and
scene.
and gotten in the car and ridden with them, and then killed them like at some point later in the trip.
Here's a question I got for you, Mike. That's on the little deeper level on this one. Is this just a straight slasher film, or is there a message to this film? Because if there is, I didn't get it.
It's a straight slasher film in terms of how I feel like a lot of the plot points of how a slasher comes to be. But I feel like this film does a really good job at showing the growth of a slasher.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really
Growth of a
see
killer.
Yeah, the growth of a killer. Yeah, you don't really see Michael Myers' growth, and to well effect, like obviously John Carpenter didn't want that, and he kind of criticized Rob Zombie for trying to do that.
Yeah.
Jason, same thing. Like you kind of see glimpses of it, but they don't make a real thing. This is like this one's different because it starts off where you think the protagonist is this kid, and it actually turns out to be the killer.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a strange thing in this. The first, what is it? Like, I don't know, first 10, 15 minutes of this film shows this kid, and this kid like being abused by.
And you're kind of siding with him emotionally.
He's suffering from these
You
traumatic
kind of have
events.
to because like he's in this convent, and then the mother superior,
Mother Superior.
Yeah, Mother Teresa.
she's a let's be honest, she's a monster.
Yeah.
And by the end of this film, she turns out to be a hero, which is very strange. Like
I
they
agree.
kind of transfer that. But like this kid, if you're watching the first 15, 20 minutes of this film, you can't help but think like, Jesus Christ, this kid's gonna end up being a killer. You have to see it coming because it's like, how much shit does this kid have to go through before he fucking snaps?
It sucks because it's like there's at least one sister that knows what he's going through and recognizes what the problem is, and the Mother Superior is like, no, my methods will work, and just keeps subjecting
I don't
him
care
to
what
more
you
of this,
think.
more and more of this shit.
I don't understand why none of the nuns or anybody in that entire orphanage says, look, guys, his family was brutally murdered
One of
by a
them
Santa
does.
Claus.
She does.
One of them does.
Yeah, but like it's a complete like the ignorance is so
That's the
mind-boggling.
point I think they're trying to make.
It's
though.
an ignorance on the Mother Superior, though.
Yeah.
Right.
She's in charge, and it's her way or the highway type of thing, and this other one's just like, there's nothing I can fucking do.
The
Nuns
way
are
this
mean.
film ends is that it makes the Mother Superior seem like she's like a holy figure.
I didn't think of her as a hero. I thought of her even more as like look what you created. That's how I took it.
It's so. But at the end, when he comes in with the axe, he's ready to like basically, I guess, murder the entire orphanage.
He's just gonna kill her. That's it.
Yeah.
Is that just her? Like
Yeah.
the way she's so standoffish makes it seem like, and you've seen all these brutal murders. Like why? Like they almost frame her in a heroic way.
I didn't get it that way at all.
Really?
Yeah.
I did.
I kind of got.
I didn't get her as heroic. I got it as like the way she was responding to it was like she's like she's standing firm on like kind of her beliefs and her methods, but the entire film is an end result of her methods. Like the reason this killer is this way, and the reason why he's coming after her is because she was being, I don't want to say naughty, that's weird,
Well, you
but
say
to quote the film.
You know, she says being punished. Like that's a whole thing he carries with him through like all of his.
She
his life.
reinforces these ideas,
Yeah.
which is so weird.
Well, she creates these ideas.
Yeah.
He didn't have the idea of punishment as being
well, the grandfather kind of starts it off.
a little bit,
Yeah.
but she definitely drives it fucking home.
Here's the weird thing I will say too about that ending with Mother Superior, that is different from most like horror films, especially at this time too. Is like the one person who should probably die and probably deserves to get killed doesn't.
Yeah, she
The one
doesn't
that you're rooting to get killed, like as a horror fan, you're like, that's the girl, that's the lady that needs to get it.
Yeah,
She doesn't.
she gets in the second one.
Well, we're not there yet.
No,
Oh, really? Okay, never mind then.
that's why they had to make a second one because everybody felt like you did.
Yeah, no, for real. Because
I
it is a
believe
weird.
it. I believe it. That was kind of like,
Yeah.
honestly, like I would
Should've
have
been the first one to
I
go.
would have rather him like as he died, came down with the axe and killed her. They both died together. Little poetic shot, and that's it. End of the story.
Well, let me
You're
ask-
too artsy. You're
let me
too
ask
artsy.
this though, real quick. So there's the Linnea Quigley scene where she's making out on the pool table and goes to check for the cat topless, and then
And some
you know-
weird kid lives there, by the
That's
way.
how
I
I
don't
look
know
for.
where that
That's
kid
how I
comes
look for
from.
my cat.
Yeah, right.
Topless?
And
Yeah.
then gets impaled by the horns of a deer or an elk or something.
A deer.
Um,
I guess it's
And but I was
The deer.
maybe I didn't catch it,
A
but
doe?
why did he choose to kill them?
It's just random.
That was just a kill. That was just a
It was
random, ass kill.
They were
Yeah.
they were having sex.
Yeah.
and
He was peeping?
and back to he was. We don't see it, but we have to assume that's what happens because that would explain why they show him peeping through the peephole when he was a kid, and what they're doing is basically reflecting exactly what
yes.
he witnessed and exactly what the back room supervisor was trying to do with this other girl. It was having sex, and
It
that
really
was naughty.
it really reflects that like slasher trope of like sex is a not like
Mm-hmm.
people who have sex deserve to die.
Yeah, well, that was obviously a
And they
running
almo- and they always
theme.
do.
And then Mother Superior drove it home by saying what they were doing was naughty and,
Right,
and deserves to be
she
punished.
She does.
so-
She really like frames that for him.
So I also took it as like kind of like a Halloween thing too that they stole from Halloween, where it's like he's this killer who's obviously got an end goal, and on his journey from where he is to where his end goal is, which is the orphanage, he's just gonna run over a whole bunch of people on his way there.
Yeah, he. I mean, there's not really an easy way or to explain it. It's basically this guy snaps, and anything that Mother Superior told him was naughty, he's going to kill.
All right.
punish.
What's up
quote
with the
unquote.
sled scene?
That's exactly what I was gonna ask.
what's up
I
with the
don't
sled
understand
scene?
the sled scene.
That's just a random kill.
Okay.
It's like I said, it's him on his
Well,
journey.
I mean, technically, no, it's not a random.
what
kill.
did they do that
it-
was bad?
They
They stole the
stole the
sled from the
sleds.
kids.
oh, okay.
They beat up the kids kind of, and they
Alright.
stole their sleds, and they.
So now he's
Did I not miss
now
this
he's a good
part?
guy.
Okay.
the fucking
he's well.
What's the
That's his
business
whole
part?
thing. That's his whole thing.
I guess
That's
it
what-
is not being naughty, right?
Yeah, that's his whole thing. Is punishing sinners, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he asked the girl that's in the house after he kills Linnea Quigley, like, have you been naughty? And she's like,
Yeah.
no.
and then he gives her a
That's
present,
right.
which is a
And-
box
Yeah.
cutter.
Fucking box
like a
cutter.
bloody, crusty box cutter.
Yeah, here you go. Here's a bloody crusty box
How about the
cutter.
Grinch over here? What those guys do wrong? They just stole a sled. There's nothing
No.
wrong with that. You see some
Yeah.
kids with sleds, you want to have some fun, you beat them the fuck up. You
I'm
steal the
just wondering
sleds.
why those 27-year-olds were picking on those, 13-year-olds.
Yeah, it was a
Dude,
little
that's
weird.
just. I think to explain that's bad casting.
I can explain that. That was the redheaded kid that grew up. It's the redheaded kid in Christmas Story. He grew up.
Scott Farkas,
Gotcha.
Yeah, Scott Farkas.
yellow eyes.
He grew up, stole some sleds, got his head chopped off.
You know what? Farkas got his.
yeah,
Good
Yeah.
for him.
So,
Twice.
So that's what I'm wondering is that one of the scenes that was the difference between rated and unrated? Because I remember seeing that scene a little bit more extended. It seemed longer when I watched it on my own than when I saw it over here.
Yeah.
I feel like there was some length cut off of that.
I think I think the extended version just has. I mean, all of these horror movies have that. The extended version always just has these shots that held on the special effects a little
Yeah.
bit longer. Because you guys didn't see the antlers pierce Linnea Quigley's belly.
No, it
And
just
they look-
cuts to her eyes.
Yep.
And I remember seeing it and thinking the first thing was like, well, the budget must have been really low.
I
that
could
they
have
didn't
sworn I
wanna-
saw
that-
it. I
that-
could have sworn
that-
it was in there.
That special effect was fantastic. 'Cause,
Wow.
like,
It's a
you
shame
see,
that was
You
missed.
see him like poke through, and they just slowly tear through the latex skin, and just like blood pumps
Yeah,
out.
we
It's
didn't
like
get none
it's
of
like
that.
that's really well done.
That's a
didn't
shame.
know
I'm
that.
ashamed I didn't see that. I'm gonna have to watch the unrated version.
Yeah.
See, y'all just need to y'all need to stop being cheap. Pay for
Do
the
yourselves-
Amazon.
the old Amazon.
Don't watch that free Showtime version. I'll tell you that much. Pay for it. You pay, for what you
pay the
get.
$2.99 for the SD version because there
So-
ain't no HD out there.
So as we were speaking about Sister Margaret, who was like the good nun.
Good nun.
The good nun.
Did anyone else get like a Dr. Loomis vibe from this chick?
Oh,
Or was it just
absolutely.
I
me?
definitely did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she had that.
I will say though, she was probably my favorite actor in this film, aside from Billy.
Adult Billy or what? 8-year-old Billy?
Adult Billy.
Adult Billy was pretty solid. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think she carried like the most skill as an actor. She was most believable in her
Mother
role.
Superior is pretty good.
Yeah, she's
I don't know. Yeah, I gotta disagree
like-
with you on
she's
the Billy thing. I think adult Billy is flat.
What? I love adult Billy and his
Why?
crazy face.
I think it's all about the,
And
the
maybe-
expressions.
and honestly,
Yeah.
but
Listen. Let's say
Yeah.
this before you give your example.
Okay.
Adult Billy sane or Adult Billy insane? Because Adult Billy insane is
Insane.
fucking solid.
I agree.
He has the most terrifying dead eyes.
And I want to say something about it. I think it might have to do with the editing and the way it was cut, or at least even the version that was cut. I don't like that. Like even with the sled guy, he was just like punished. Like that's all you heard before he
Punish.
cut off his head. It was like this robotic, like
he snapped, bro.
repeating thing.
Yeah, he kept saying he did keep saying punish, and it was
Yeah, and it was just
It-
flat. Like
I,
no
I
expression.
liked it. The only time I thought it was funny was when he kills the cop towards the end, and because that one just comes out of nowhere. It's
yes,
like, punish. It's like, the fuck was that?
when he kills Chief Waters, because he looks kind of like John Waters. A lot of people look like John Waters in the last few films we've
I like
picked
when they
up.
actually make him become Santa, and he's got the kid on his lap,
Oh
and he's
my
like,
I love when
it's
he's just
such a good scene.
when he's just staring at himself in the mirror. It's just like you could just see this guy's like screaming on the inside,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Keep it together."
Yeah, with that kid though, he was like, "You need to be quiet. You're being bad. You know what happens to kids when they're bad, right? And they get punished." And then it's like, "Wow, he's so good with children." Like, and it's just like the way he's saying it is so disturbing to
listen,
me.
if I worked in that stockroom too, that asshole would have
Oh.
died way sooner.
yeah, that fucking clown.
Oh my god, the rapist. There's a
Yeah.
lot- How do I mean? Listen,
How do rapists rise to power?
I'm gonna write a book.
Positions of power.
I'm gonna write a book soon about cult films and just rape scenes and why.
Oh yeah, I'll do it. I'll give you a whole chapter on 70s samurai films. I didn't realize it until I just got a new set, and dude, it's like every I just got the Lone Wolf and Cub set, and every single movie at least 3 women get raped or molested.
It's like a running.
Like, what
theme.
was with the 70s?
I think it's a running theme in like cult movies because it's like one of the worst things that they can think of doing.
Yeah.
It's shock
But
value.
I think there was a blasé way attitude of dealing with it at the time that I think is not it's not taken as seriously as it is nowadays,
Yeah,
which
that's
it
true.
should be. Like I just watched Deathstalker, and Jesus Christ, it's like 8 rapes a minute, like in that film, and it's meant as a joke, like, and it's like he's a barbarian, and it's like viewing it from the eyes that I have now, it's kind of horrendous a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like even the girl. I was like, why are you mad at him for killing your rapist? Like, what is that about?
I
Yeah,
know.
that was strange.
I was blown away by that because like it's so weird how that whole scene doesn't make any sense though, because like from a distance Billy's watching him and they're making out and everything, and then he's like, "Hey, come to the back room," type of thing, and they get back there and she's like, "I thought you said you had a present for me." I'm like, "What the fuck were you making out with him for if you thought you were
Yeah.
just getting a gift?" And then he's like, "Here's my gift," and he starts trying to fucking rape her. It just didn't make any fucking sense.
Okay, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. Like the other Santa who gets killed, who's deaf.
Oh, the
father's,
whatever. Like at the end, the fake Santa.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
you think
That
is,
one makes sense.
that he's deaf.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that's just we were talking about that. That's just like somebody in the writers' room was like, "Oh, and it turns out to be Father blah blah," and it's like, well, why didn't he stop when he said freeze? Oh, because he's deaf, obviously. Didn't I say that before? That's what I meant.
Nope, we're just accepting it now. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, I did not catch that. I did not understand it
That's
until
how,
they
that's how
said
you
that.
write. That's how you write yourself out of a hole, right
Yeah,
there.
right. Like, wait a second. Plot
He's
hole.
deaf.
How miserable is it to grow up in an orphanage where you're gonna see Santa and you're gonna tell him everything you want and he can't hear you?
Yeah. Yep. That's,
Santa, I want this, and
Well,
this.
that's probably why he shows up after they open the gifts.
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
he's the only one that can stand doing it because he can't hear him anyways.
He's like the perfect Santa.
Yeah, he's like he never gets tired of it because he doesn't have to listen to all the screaming and fucking greediness.
He's like, is this kid crying?
Yeah, making a weird ass face, but that's kind of entertaining.
All right, guys, so we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk more about Silent Night, Deadly Night.
What's the matter with you? Stop it. Stop kicking. Do you have any idea what you're doing? You're being naughty. Right on Santa's lap. I don't bring toys to naughty children. I punish them. Severely. That's right. punish you.
He sure knows how to handle kids. He's great, isn't he?
All right, guys, we are back. We're talking about Santa's Sleigh. Came out in 1984. Santa's Sleigh. Did I do that? Did I do that?
Fuck
You
out.
fucking
We do no
did
fucking
that.
Santa's Sleigh. Dude, we were just looking it up on our break, so I had to fucking just came out. Oh, no, actually talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I like that you got the year right though for Silent Night. Santa's Sleigh from 84.
84.
84
Bill-
guys. Bill Goldberg. He's 6. 84.
I don't know why. It just happened.
He's not 6.
He's not 6. He's way older than that.
Yeah.
Whatever. I just threw a fucking.
That was a good
You're
guess.
giving me
I
shit.
thought that was could have been
Thank
accurate.
you, Chris. The two people who don't know wrestling thought it was hilarious. Two people who do are like, oh, excuse you, sir.
He's 50 years old. All right, so let's get into the fun part of this movie, which I would say is the technical side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
sure.
let's talk about some of that fantastic stuff.
Let's talk about what a low budget gets you.
Yeah.
$1 million bucks.
No, I've seen movies shot on $1 million bucks that we've talked about on this podcast that were shot better than this
Trauma
movie.
films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trauma films are shot better than this
I mean,
movie.
granted, it's a lot of that melt stuff, but I mean, really? Like, what does this film do that's so
Different.
spectacular in terms of special effects?
I mean, honestly, like, special. Well, we can't have special effects conversation because unfortunately, you two assholes didn't watch the unrated one. So the
you know
great
what?
effects you didn't get to witness.
I
them.
will give you that because I wish I
So
had
we
seen.
can't talk about. But if you want to talk about cinematography, I mean, it's got some low points, but for the most part, it's pretty vanilla and done well. Cinematography. There's shots though, like there's the cheesy fucking 80s slow mo shot. That's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that's
It's used
it
a few times.
It just looks like it's a freeze frame that they just pan a camera over a little bit at a
yeah,
time.
just
Like,
stutters along.
yeah, it looks terrible. But I mean, I didn't see any long pan shots or anything. It was pretty vanilla.
Yeah, because they didn't know how to do them.
I feel like every shot felt pretty natural. My biggest complaint, honestly, was there was something wrong with the film. I think the film got fucked up at some point
What do you
in
mean?
this film. Because there were scenes where it was like perfectly lit, beautiful, like
Oh, yeah.
all like it looked great, and then it'd go to a shot that was like grainy and green and
I
like
even-
really like off.
I even
And-
thought to myself, like when I was watching it, like in this, I don't know why I thought this, but I thought like, I wonder if they bought if they used really cheap, shitty film for it, because the grain was like when you see if you watch something like like a fucking a masterpiece film, black and white. The grain is always even and smooth and looks nice. In this movie, it's like harsh lines and like weird like
I mean, that
artifacts appearing on the screen.
I feel like
It's kinda
that could have
crazy.
came from the transition. I don't know what they originally shot on and what they transferred it to.
Yeah, but
mean,
I've seen bad DVD copies and they don't look.
well, I'm not
like
talking about
this is a
DVD.
film
I'm even
issue.
talking about the idea of blowing something up from like
Oh, I'm sure it was
16
shot.
to 16, Super 16, which I highly doubt it's 35 millimeter
It's-
most likely.
it's probably
but-
shot in the correct
8.
aspect ratio. I just
Yeah.
think it was lit, like Chris's point. It was definitely lit poorly, and there was a lot of scenes that were like they looked like they weren't color corrected.
I was just gonna say it probably didn't get corrected, or
Yeah.
it was like the raw like film and like nothing had been done to it. It looked like.
Do you guys know what we're talking
That
about?
sounds,
Yeah, I know exactly
That sounds
what
like
you're
that sounds
talking
like that unrated version.
I was gonna say. I just thought about it right now because some of the scenes are some like death scenes.
Yeah.
I wonder if they didn't see any of these.
Because even when he came in when I was watching the unrated version, he sat down and was like, "This looks a lot different than the unrated version."
As
far as, like,
I wonder
colors
if
and-
there's some. I wonder
No,
if the extra
yeah.
scenes were
Wait a
color
second.
corrected.
Everything was way more exposed on the version that you guys saw. On mine, it was like dark, and then it would go to this like really shit film look for a second,
Wait a
and then
second.
snap
If
back.
it was an unrated version where they're just adding footage to it,
Hmm.
is it not unlikely
that they didn't
that
treat it or do
they
color
were just like,
correction.
hey, let's just get an unrated version out there and just like we have raw footage, we shot these weird kill scenes,
Yeah,
like just jam it
they
on
easily
there.
could have done like a real quick processing just
Yeah.
to get it on the fucking disc and get it out
I
there, which is
suppose.
what it looks like.
Did it happen during the Linnea Quigley death that you were talking
during
about?
a close up on her stomach, I believe it was grainy, right?
There was it was
Yeah.
mostly, now that you mention it, during like a death type scene.
Yeah, because even during the first time I think I actually noticed it was at the beginning when the burglar shoots the guy in the head.
Mhm.
Like, because that holds on that shot for a while after he gets hit in the head, and I did notice like all of a sudden the color palette changed, the white balance got all warm and kind of shitty looking.
Mhm.
I don't know.
All right, I think we can safely say that's probably what happened. They had the theatrical version. They
Yeah.
edited that,
Right.
and then they realized, well, maybe we should do an unrated version because this film was controversial. But they didn't have the budget to actually do that, so they just jammed it in there.
I wonder if you would notice it as much on like a VHS or something.
Probably not at all.
because this was obviously streamed like digitally, so a lot of that stuff really pops out.
Mhm.
But yeah, I wonder if on VHS it just doesn't look that.
You hear that, Shout Factory? 4K restoration.
There you go. Well, to quote Ghost Adventures, I feel like this myth has been debunked.
There it is.
Debunked.
There
What?
it is.
Is this a new segment?
Yeah, we're calling it the debunk.
The debunk.
The Debunk with
I
Michael Celestio.
I hope there's a lot of fans out there that are listening to this show that actually watch Ghost Adventures. It's the
I think I have the entire season 1, unfortunately.
unfortunately, Chris. Unfortunately, the greatest fucking ghost show on TV.
That sounds like a misplaced Christmas gift right there. Or
I think
birthday.
I inherited it somehow.
Oh, okay.
One of the things I wanted to talk about, because it seems to be a running theme in the last two movies that we reviewed, Play Misty for Me and now this, is the Clint Eastwood Mega Punch. Where that comes out of nowhere.
That
Dude,
kid's
that
left
kid-
hook.
That kid
left hook.
fucking clocks that Santa.
And that
Clocks him.
stunt man flew across the room like he was hit by Bill Goldberg.
That was definitely a scene that made me laugh hysterically. I
Me
was
too.
like, where did that punch come from?
Dude, from the back. You didn't see it coming.
What the
It came
hell's
from the back.
wrong with that kid? I'd be like, motherfucker, I
Yeah.
would be chasing after that.
But I mean, doesn't this character just have like weird moments of super strength?
He does.
Because like even the first guy he kills, which is the rapist dude, he holds him up one arm in the air. This
Yeah.
dude was bigger than him,
That's
like
that
built
Michael-
bigger.
That's that Michael Myers moments. Was there any favorite quotes that anyone had?
Nope.
No, I would have had one if it wasn't ruined for me.
Oh, stupid.
What was it?
That would have been naughty from his younger brother at the very
Oh, at
end
the
scene.
end?
Yeah,
I would have
yeah.
laughed so hard at that if that wasn't ruined for me.
Way to go, Chris.
Thanks,
Mhm,
Chris.
Sure.
Chris,
Mhm.
why don't you tell us? Why don't you tell us some other spoilers?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't think that would have ruined it for you.
Because he
I
was
don't
like,
buy that.
I would have laughed at it, dude. 'cause
It
the
would
way
have been a funny moment.
Yeah, because the way he says naughty.
Oh, he definitely has like a.
Yeah,
He has
like a red rum.
Yes,
like,
I just thinking
shining.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, there wasn't really any memorable quotes to me anyway. Anybody else?
No, I don't.
There's one memorable quote that I have. It's the quote of the father in the car's face. Repeatedly over and over and over
Dude,
again.
his face is glance
There's a
of
stock
love.
shot of the father looking back at the mother.
Oh,
And it's always like an, oh, you.
It's true.
You.
Oh my God,
I
I
love
know,
you
right?
so much, family. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a fucking.
I'm
And they
so
do it
happy.
over and over and over again.
All right, so let's go ahead and rate this Mammer Jammer. Kyle, what are we rating it?
We are gonna rate it box cutters because that's the gift Billy gives to the little girl for Christmas.
Okay, I'm going to go first on this one. I am going to actually give this 4 box cutters. I actually really enjoyed this film. I think it's a lot of stupid fun, in my opinion. It's cheesy, it's campy. There is a little bit of seriousness to it with how the serial killer is created, but otherwise from that, it's just a pretty much a fun horror Christmas movie. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just weird. It's awkward. It's all of that. So it's 4 from me. Watch it. Do it. Let's go with Mike next.
I am going to mirror exactly what you said. 4 for me. 4 box cutters. I was surprised by how much I like this film. I am not as in my cinephilia, as you would call it. Slasher films are not my number one.
Bro, you gotta go to the doctor for that?
It's a disease I don't want to be
Do they,
cured from.
do they give you a Z pack for that? Or is that...
I hope
You
not.
gotta put some cream on that? You gotta put some cream on your cinephilia?
If cinephilia is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Oh Jesus!
Go ahead,
Anyways.
I'm sorry.
Slasher films are not normally my favorite, but I really kind of digged a lot of what they were trying to do with this film. I like what they tried to do in terms of like creating a killer, but they gave him a backstory that was kind of believable, quite honestly. And not only that, but it burrowed into a fear of like this prototypical Christmas character of Santa Claus, a person you trust, a person that gives you gifts, but they warped it in such a way that like, you know, if you're naughty, you die. And I like that about films sometimes. I like when they take common stories and they warp them in such a way that it makes you look second at them. Like maybe Santa Claus is not that great of a guy, you know? Like that's what I kind of felt about it. So yeah, 4 for me, 4 box cutters.
All right, next up is Chris.
I'm flip-flopping because you guys are rating it so high. It's making me want to, but I'm going to go with a 3.5, actually.
That ain't bad.
No, it's not bad, and this film is not bad. It's a fun film. It's a fun holiday film to watch. If you're into the horror genre, I could see why it's kind of a staple. I think the artwork had a lot to do with it to draw people in. And you get a lot of sex and some violence and a kind of a cool concept. It was kind of fresh at the time, I would say, too. And yeah, all the reasons you guys just said about the story, of the film, it's a little different. You actually see the killer grow up and become what is then the enemy, somebody you shouldn't like. Some of the acting's weak, but that's, there's some good performances as well. I think the technical side is probably the thing I have the biggest problem with. It does pace out a little weird towards the end. It kind of drags on a little bit, loses a little bit of steam for me. But yeah, 3.5 overall. I think if you like horror and you like holiday horror, this should definitely be on the list.
All right, next up is Kyle.
Yeah, I'm gonna pretty much mirror what you guys are saying. I'm gonna give it a 4. It's a solid slasher film. I think it's unique enough in the way that they deliver the character and the way they present the character. It's not he's born under a bad sign or this, that. It's this kid, has been subjected to a lot of terrible shit in his life and his brain fucking snapped. And I really appreciated that about the film, because it really forces you to care about him and then in a split second realize that, he's a psychopath. So, yeah, it's got some cheesy moments, cheesy acting, and like Chris's point, it's got some technical issues. But you know what? I think all of that is pretty forgivable because it is a fun movie. So I would definitely recommend this. Put it on for your holiday party. And
Yeah, throw
a nice little treat.
Throw it on for the kids on
Show up for
Christmas Eve.
Granny, Grandma.
Grandma, Grandpa come
Grammy.
over. You just pop on Silent Night, Deadly
Yeah.
Night.
There you
and
go.
Everybody has a great time.
Well,
Hey, Granny.
I would be hooked if I were them because of that sweet ass title intro where it comes up slowly and then it right on the music cue, a blood splat hits the screen
Yeah.
and melts into the Deadly Night
That,
part of it.
you don't see a lot of that animated credits anymore.
I wish you did.
Yeah.
I wish you did too.
They don't do
but-
that anymore. That died in the 90s and then never came back.
Too bad.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's our show for this week. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. If you could leave us a review on iTunes, like we said before, it helps us out a bunch. And hey, we'll give you a shout out. No one did it this week, so no shout outs. Thanks, guys.
I'm looking at you.
Looking right at you. You're
Looking at you, world.
Yeah. So just do that for us. We'll give you a shout out, and we really appreciate it. You can follow us on Instagram at cultfilm_review. You can also follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at cultfilm_review. You can follow Kyle.
You can follow me on Instagram at cultfilm_Kyle.
You can follow Chris.
Cultfilm_Chris on Instagram.
And you can follow Mike.
You can follow me at Mike Salustio on Twitter. And you know what? I've been kind of active on Instagram
Oh,
a little
man.
bit lately. So,
Are you really?
Yeah. So
Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
Oh.
Twitter, yes.
Always.
But also, well, not really. But also Instagram now. So I'm
So go follow him in all those places
Yeah.
that you may or may not interact
What
with.
kind of things can we find on your newly
Instagram?
activated Instagram?
I just figured, you know what? I watch a lot of films. I watch a lot of stuff in my spare time. Like, why not let the world know what I'm seeing
Sure,
right now?
yeah, that's what it's for.
Yeah. So at Mike_Salustio on Instagram.
That's our show, guys. So just remember, if you're going to join a cult, make sure they watch good movies.